back into College Corner, March Madness. The first 2 rounds are done. A little bit of surprise there, considering how many 1 and 2 seeds we're seeing in the Sweet 16 this year compared to last year in the Final Four. I don't think there was a single seed lower than 4. We were just talking over the weekend. Favorites just absolutely dominated. The round of 32 went 15-1, and then against the spread, if you include the first round and the round of 32, 38-13 against the spread. I know for someone like you who doesn't bet with the public, tough weekend.
Tough, yeah. Honestly, roller coaster weekend. I know a lot of rhetoric around the tournament has been like it's not as fun because there's not many upsets, but I do think obviously my betting wise hasn't been great just because I fade the public on picks, but I do think it's interesting when you get really good teams and the shorter spreads in this next round. I'm looking forward to it personally. I know people have thought otherwise. I've seen on Twitter at least, but I don't necessarily feel that way. I think we're set up for a great Sweet 16 and even Elite 8 going forward as well. I think there's some amazing matchups that I'm really looking forward to.
We have to remember that Twitter's not a real place, and I think a lot of people are enjoying the tournament. A lot of the good teams are going to be playing 100%. On the second weekend.
I will say this though, it goes to show you could do all the research on the planet. You could do you could study. And it does not matter. I mean, all the favorites won. Majority of the favorites won, sorry.
Hey, you just got to bet the good teams and fade the bad ones.
Bet the good teams and fade the bad ones.
Yeah, fade the bad ones.
It's really that easy.
That actually, I wish I knew that because I'd be rich if I did that on the weekend. I would literally just bet all the favorites money line, parlayed it. But, besides that, I rode with Sandy a couple picks. I took some dogs. Worst bet of the weekend, I will say, was Yale on Sunday. That was one of the most catastrophic. That was dead like a minute in. I knew they were down 8, 3 minutes in. I was like, this shit is cake. That's when and that's the beauty of March Madness. It's just you can know when a bet is dead pretty much a minute in.
James Madison would like a word with you.
James Madison was bad.
That was. I mean, they're both terrible bets. They're both lost by around the same number, but. Yeah, that's kind of
Northwestern.
There's some bad. The dogs. The dogs just weren't barking. I kind of like when there's a dog. Northwestern was probably my favorite dog. Would have loved to see them keep going just because you don't expect them to put up a good fight against these really good teams. But I'm happy with where we are right now, and obviously a lot of fun games to bet on, a lot of fun games to sweat out.
Do you think now the public's just going to get killed? That's kind of my predictions that I have for what's going to come up here is there's got to be some sort of just crazy dog that wins, or else it'll just be all the favorites.
Well,
who are the crazy dogs?
The only double-digit seed left is NC State. DJ Burns and NC State, which there's a good trend for double-digit seeds covering the spread, but advancing in the Sweet 16, not necessarily the same case. The ACC is, I think, perfect in the tournament this year with Duke, Clemson, and NC State all advancing to the Sweet 16, but. Very different landscape than we saw from last year where there was a ton of upsets.
North Carolina there too.
North Carolina as well, of course. How can I forget that? But yeah, last year a lot more upsets. I think it's safe to say, I think after the first day or first round, everyone's bracket was screwed up.
I'm scared to even look at mine.
And going into that though as well is I'm not going to complain about obviously the best teams are still in it besides North Carolina, but I would have liked to see a little bit of a Cinderella story here. Yeah. Like an Oakland or something along those lines where it's all of America is rooting for this team.
NC State should be that based on how they played to get in.
Yeah, for sure. That's true. They needed to pretty much win the ACC tournament to get in. They did. Got an 11 seed. I think a lot of people, including myself, thought that Texas Tech would beat them, but you can't cover DJ Burns down low.
Yeah, it's impossible.
He's legit a fridge.
It's impossible. I don't know how you can kind of mitigate that. I guess you can't really because you just you'd foul him. I guess technically because it's impossible.
He can make
and he can shoot. So.
They did get a good second round draw at least with Oakland.
Yes, 100%. And even that game it came down.
Well, it's because the Oakland coach drew up one of the worst plays I've ever seen at the buzzer. He turned it over. Out of bounds. So, other than that, though, I was really hoping to see Oakland because I loved the guy that shot 33s in the first round. But other than that, though, it has been a good tournament. It's good to see the Blue Bloods in it.
Yeah, you got some really good matchups heading into this weekend. But staying with the trends and looking at some trends, if you are looking to bet some of these games, there are definitely some good ones for the Sweet 16 that are kind of showing through with some of the matchups that we have here. So the 4 that I've listed here, the first one, Sweet 16 games where a team is favored by 8 or more points. The under's 26, 8, and 3, over 60% hitting. So that's UConn, San Diego State. Obviously, UConn catching about, I think, 10 and a half points, up to 11 or 12 at some spots. Number 1 seeds, 12-2 straight up and 9-4-1 against the spread against number 4 seeds in the Sweet 16 over the last 9 tournaments. So that would be North Carolina and then Houston against Duke. And then the other one, double-digit seeds, which is NC State, the only double-digit seed left, 15-7-1 against the spread in the Sweet 16 since 2011. So this would probably be your last time to kind of bet on DJ Burns and the NC State team. Maybe they could pull off the upset. And then the last one for the Sweet 16, number 1 and 2 seeds are 35-12 straight up, 28, 18, and 8 against the spread in the Sweet 16 over the last 9 NCAA tournaments. So definitely some things to kind of think about when you're looking at betting these games. These trends, obviously, there's a decent amount of sample size for all of these to kind of have them proven their worth. But for you guys, what's like the biggest surprise, I would say, a team that you didn't expect to see in the Sweet 16 or maybe a prediction for the Sweet 16?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
I'll go first. Mine's kind of, I guess surprise might be the wrong word, but I think what we saw with Duke, especially, I know they played Vermont and JMU, so like you got to take it with a grain of salt, but how they won that game, like a guy like Jared McCain, 8 for 11 from 3.
Yeah.
They won by, what did they win? 38 points in that game. They beat Vermont pretty handily too. So take it with a grain of salt, but I am surprised. Like a guy like myself fading Duke a lot during the regular season, like I found myself in that spot a lot. I'm surprised with, how they've won the games, the shooting percentage. I mean, as I said, they shot over 50% from 3 against JMU. Like they've been able to shoot the ball really well. It's going to be tough. I know, obviously, in this matchup they have coming up against Houston, but I think, if they continue to shoot the 3 like that, they can pretty much beat anyone. So I'm very surprised based on what I watched in the regular season, how they've been able to score and what Jared McCain's been able to do from 3 points specifically. So that's kind of been my, obviously I bet on them last game, but that's kind of been my little, surprise.
Yeah.
What I didn't expect as much.
Yeah, Jared McCain hit 8 of their 14 threes in that game.
He went nuclear in the first half.
He's a star.
TikTok dances afterwards for all his fans.
He's such the anti-Duke player.
Yeah,
that,
seriously.
100%.
Like Coach K would never have that guy.
No, he would not.
Well, he would. He just wouldn't let him do the locker room TikTok.
I know,
exactly.
but he rocks. So
he's
for him,
great.
I'll go my next one. I think we get it's not a big upset. I love what Illinois has been doing. I think they beat Iowa State, and they beat them kind of handily. And then they go on to UConn, and they play the tightest game UConn's going to play in this whole tournament.
Okay,
that's fair.
Illinois is playing like just great ball. So that's my Sweet 16.
Terrence Shannon has been a dog in
Yeah.
the first 2 rounds. So
Not that Iowa State's been anything to shake your stick at.
No,
They've
no.
been playing
Yeah,
good
they've been
too.
playing
But
great.
Illinois for me.
I'm going to piggyback off what you said, man. I just think UConn is just unbeatable. I mean, obviously they were the chalk pick going into March Madness. Everyone was picking them. They're plus 360, I think, to win the tournament. I just think UConn's ability. Usually, you see those 1 seed kind of piss their pants a little bit or don't really play that well in the tournament, and this team is just literally dog walked from start to finish. I know that Northwestern second half was kind of tough, but they were up 30 in the first half. It's kind of hard to get out of bed when you're up 30 in the first half against a team in March Madness. So I think UConn's ability to just dominate from start to finish the entire tournament so far is what my Sweet 16 pick. It's obviously it's chalk, but I think this team is just going to continue to roll all the way to the Final Four. I can't see a team beating this. They are insane.
Yeah.
I know they've hit their first half team total, all the games they've played. They've hit their team total over, and I believe they've covered every single game they've played.
Yeah.
So it's just been pure dominance from UConn.
They've covered 8 straight looking back to last year's tournament.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like they even in the finals last year when they played, they absolutely beat the shit out of San Diego State, who they play again just on Thursday or Friday. And in that game against Northwestern, they were 3 for 22 from 3.
Yeah, it's insane.
And they still won by
it's-
double digits. Like this team is just unbelievable. Kling's having a really good tournament already. So I think my like biggest surprise to this point is that Rick Barnes and the Vols and Tommy Lloyd and the Wildcats are both still in, because a lot of Rick Barnes has had a really tough tournament record for how many times he's been to the NCAA tournament wherever he's coached, whether it be at Texas or Tennessee. I think his record's like right at 500, but he's always been like a top 6 seed, I want to say, for the majority of it. And then Tommy Lloyd in Arizona, the last couple of years have always had really good teams, and they've always struggled. They lost in the Sweet 16. I think that time when they had, I think Miller was, what was the coach before for Arizona? Bruce Miller?
Sean Miller.
Sean Miller. When Ayton was there, they lost there. But Tommy Lloyd's first NCAA appearance, they made it to Sweet 16, loss, and then obviously last year, not really a tournament you wanted to look for there. But I'm just surprised to see both of these two blue bloods, I guess you want to call them, into the tournament at this point, considering Rick Barnes had Kevin Durant on his team when he was at Texas, and he lost in the second round of the tournament. And everyone's like, if you can't win with Kevin Durant, you're not going to be able to win with Dalton Connect and Vescovi. So I think that's kind of surprising there. And then looking at the Elite 8, I would say, Sandy, do you have any upset prediction or any pick for this round?
My Clemson Tigers.
Okay.
Love my Clemson Tigers. I was on them last round. They dominated that game from start to finish. I mean, obviously Arizona's a tough task. To my credit, not to my credit, but to my demise, I guess you could say, I had Arizona losing early in my bracket, so that's cake. But I love fading Arizona. I think this Clemson team, obviously that last game, they dominated from start to finish. They were winning that entire game, obviously shooting it really, really well, playing great defense, something that, in a Baylor team that's been pretty solid this year, they went under their team total. That game went under. Like, Clemson showed up in that game. Again, I think it's going to be a very tall task against Arizona, but I think the 7.5 number, I'm going to find myself on that spread. I think Clemson can advance to the Elite Eight, and that's I don't know if that's a hot take, or I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I really do love this Clemson team, and maybe it's just, my heart's in it with them, but I do think they can upset Arizona and go to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I mean, like I said, Tommy Lloyd's been terrible against the spread. He's been terrible in the tournament. I think these first 2 games of the tournament are the 2 only covers he has in the tournament.
Yeah.
What about you, Abe?
I thought when you said Elite Eight, it's like, okay, who's in the Elite Eight going to the Final Four? I think Creighton makes it out of the Midwest.
Okay.
There is 2 perennial losers in
yeah.
the Tennessee team and the Purdue team. Gonzaga's playing great basketball for what we thought about them all season. They might be the 4th hottest team of this bracket, and I think it plays out perfectly for them. We get Creighton into the Final Four.
I disagree with that. I think I do disagree with that.
Yeah, here we go.
Last year we noticed the trend, obviously, with UConn, the massive. They were the favorite, I think, 2 years ago, and got upset in the first round, and then won the tournament the year after. I think Purdue gets over the hump this year.
Okay.
I think Zach Edey is so good. I'm not saying that because he's Canadian.
Yeah, that's big of you to say.
I'm not saying this because he is Canadian, but I mean, everyone has talked about Purdue not being good in the tournament. Last year they got folded, I believe, as well. I think Purdue goes on that UConn arc. I think Purdue makes it to the Final Four, potentially in the national championship. They don't even have that really hard of a draw. I mean, they beat Gonzaga, and then they got Creighton or Tennessee, and like you said, perennial guy that fumbles in the tournament if Tennessee advances. So I do like Purdue. Again, I know it's not a hot take.
You're breaking the internet.
But I will say, though, Zach Edey is insane. It's just, you can't really stop the guy.
He plays a different sport than everyone else.
He does.
He plays,
the refs don't even know how to call fouls on him, against
he gets hacked
him.
so hard.
Oh.
Like, he gets beat up.
If I was a Purdue fan, I would. It's kind of like the Chiefs in football. It's every time they get hit, it's like, okay, it's a penalty on them. But every time you see Zach Edey play from a neutral stance, he is getting hacked by everyone who is less than 5 inches.
What are your thoughts on the Duke to win the Natty, though? Because right now it's plus 2,300 on FanDuel. It's just the thing that's tough is they have a tough route. They have to beat Houston. But that next round matchup, Marquette or NC State, if NC State does upset,
then they have to win 2 more games.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, though, plus 2,300 for Duke to make it, who has looked absolutely insane. Jared McCain, like we talked about earlier, the first half, legitimately unconscious. I think he scored 15 the game before, so he's starting to heat up.
I would never bet that. I wouldn't bet that with your money. But
Plus 2,300.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Houston's such a tough draw, though. I feel like Houston, if they get over the Houston hump,
But Houston did not look that good on Sunday.
Well, the thing with Houston, they play so physical. Like 3 of their guys fouled out by the end of that game against Texas A&M, and like that was a really, I would say at this point, emotional win because they almost let the team entirely come back and beat them as quite a heavy underdog. So if they play that game where they just continue to foul, and Duke goes to the free throw line, like you can't beat them. There's way better free throw shooters and players on Duke than there were on Texas A&M. So Kelvin Sampson's going to have to, I think, readjust his strategy when playing a team like Duke, because if 2 of your guys get fouled out, I just don't know how that'll look. And I think, honestly, last year, Houston's team last year was better than this year because you lose Marcus Sasser to the NBA draft and Jarris Walker Jr. Those are 2 huge players. At this point, you really only have Jamal Shedd. LJ Cryer, I guess, as well. But my prediction, I think every ACC team makes it out of the Sweet 16. I think NC State can beat Marquette. I think Duke beats Houston. North Carolina takes care of business at that 1 spot, and then Clemson as well takes care of Arizona. I think
Clemson boys stand up, Sarah.
Yeah, I really like that. And the other thing I'll say, UConn beats San Diego State by 25.
Oh, that's going to be a waxing.
It's going to be an absolute. San Diego State had one of their best shooting performances against Yale. I want to say of the season. They're in Washington late. Then they got to go back to San Diego and then to Boston. It's pretty much a fucking home game for UConn.
Yeah.
Do they play the late Boston game? Because that's how they were playing.
No,
10
it's
PM?
7:40.
Okay.
7:40. But that might even screw up with them more
That's what I was-
with the
that
time
is-
change.
It's like
you
a
know?
4 p.m. game.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. So
Well,
I think
in that Yale game too, Ledee had like a record-breaking.
It's kinda bullshit
performance,
UConn
like,
gets
for them.
up.
I know they beat the shit out of them, but still, like SDSU's a team that is not a high-scoring team. Like we've seen that all year.
happens
They
when
play
you're
good
the one
defense,
seed,
but
so.
it's
UConn
man. Like, they
UConn
get
getting
in
a
the
home
paint.
game essentially. Yeah, that's a
there you
good.
go.
I think that's a good point. It's just UConn is. I know I talked about this earlier. They're insane. They're fucking insane. I don't know how.
I'm going to have a trifecta bet in that game. UConn minus 10.5, the under, and San Diego State team total under.
Nice. That just paid out.
Thank
Look
you.
at us now. We're all saying this, and then UConn's going to lose.
I just can't believe people are complaining about this. You're literally just
I know,
getting
you
all
get
the
so
good
many
teams.
good games.
Yeah, like you got UNC Alabama, which is going to be a sick game. You got all the blue bloods in there still, pretty much, Kentucky. But this is an awesome slate here.
Yeah, very good. And I know the Elite Eight, obviously, we're not there just yet, but just some betting trends to remember for when you guys do get there on Saturday and Sunday. Elite Eight favorites of 4 points or fewer have gone just 2-10 straight up and 1-10-1 against the spread over the last 12 games. Outright winners in the Elite Eight are 61-5-2 against the spread since 2006. So if you're betting on a team to upset or win, or to cover, you might as well just bet them to win because they go hand in hand with each other. Since 2001, Elite Eight overs. This is apparently the best round for overs. There's 87-63-2, and when the total is 143 or lower, the over's 59-29. So a good number to look out for there when those numbers drop. And then number 1 to number 3 seeds are 8-21-2 against the spread against 4 seeds or worse in the Elite Eight since 2011. So if there's a Clemson makes it or NC State and they're playing one of the top 3 seeds, I think that's also a good spread to look at. The last thing we'll end off here, the 2 teams that will be facing off in the national championship game on April 6th, Ave.
UConn and Creighton.
UConn and Creighton. John?
Okay, I know I gave Purdue earlier, but
Oh, no.
I want to see Purdue UConn.
Okay.
I want to see Purdue UConn. I feel like that'll be a very electric game.
Okay. I kind of agree with Ave. I think it's going to be Purdue, Illinois. In
Big
sense
Ten
of like
matchup.
Illinois making it far. I do really like, there's always a guy that everyone remembers from certain NCAA tournaments. And I think Terrence Shannon can be that guy for Illinois where he just puts the team on his back and takes them there. So
I'm going with Purdue as well. As much as I hate to say it, I think this could be the year for them. Obviously, the draw's a lot easier, but I think they can get to the dance. And then my hot take, Clemson, riding with my dog so the wheels fall off. Clemson gets the championship.
Okay.
Purdue, Clemson, Purdue wins.
all right.
That's my
so
prediction.
Purdue just lost to Gonzaga, but that is it. Sweet 16 predictions, roundup, Elite 8. Looking ahead to that, and then the championship predictions. Let us know if you guys agree with us in the comments. I'm sure you don't.
Yep.
And we'll see you guys in the next video.